Hey everyone!
Hey everybody!
Welcome to Sermon Break.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. It is Monday. We had an incredible weekend
Yep.
here at church. We were here at our Mississauga campus. We went out to Whippy. We had a great outreach event. It was quite a weekend.
It was quite a weekend.
Let us know where you're tuning in from today.
Yep, and what you're having for lunch. I can already see Wonder is in the chat. Hey Wonder, I think you said you were having a sandwich and a salad today. That sounds great.
Nice and like simple and easy and healthy. I love that. I love that. Akash says rice and chicken action going on.
I love that.
I love that. I don't know. What are you having for lunch?
I think I'm gonna have like either a burrito bowl or earlier Kristen was talking about getting pho or pho, however you like to say it.
However you like to say it.
So now I'm kind of thinking about that.
Yeah,
how about you?
I don't know. That was really what I was thinking. Stephen and I had a bigger breakfast than usual today, so I'm not super hungry, but I'm into those Starbucks holiday drinks. Put it in the chat if you've had one yet. I've not had one yet, but I've been seeing everybody have one.
They're so good.
I feel like I need one.
Yeah.
So which kind did you have?
And let me know, is it Christmas for some of you already? I know for me, it's Christmas. Nadine put Burrito Boys. Okay, Nadine. I think I might have to go to Burrito Boys.
Okay, what kind of holiday drink did you have?
I had a creme brulee latte, I think. Nadine might have to confirm that in the chat. I kind of just copied her.
Oh,
but
good call. Good call. Thanks for the inspiration, Nadine.
Yeah.
But we had Pastor Robert Madu in the house. He was incredible. Every time he's preached at Elevation, I absolutely love it. He's so engaging. He always speaks directly to something that I need to hear. But I thought it was so funny the way that he was explaining his experience with the motel.
Yes.
And how he really painted a picture of how honestly terrible this motel was and how he was seriously considering going to the hotel because of the smell and the, what did he say?
Stains.
The comforter, the roaches, all the things. So I want to know, put it in the chat and let me know if you've ever had a terrible motel, hotel, hostel experience, Airbnb. Let us know your worst, I don't know, your worst situation, overnight accommodation situation.
Yeah, I want to know what yours was.
Okay, well, the thing is mine, I'm was prepared for this question. I'm jumped to this question because I had the worst experience. Just picture this, okay? Me and my family, make sure you put yours in your chat too as I tell you the story. But anyways, long story short-ish is me and my family, we went on a family vacation to Kingston and we were staying in a bed and breakfast, and it was a really old century home, beautiful place. So we walked in and we're wow, this is lovely. This was years ago now, probably 10 years ago. And we went for a nice dinner, we came back to our room, and I like to go to sleep early. So I felt I went to sleep first, but me and my whole family were all staying in the same room.
Yeah.
So I was on this single bed, my parents were in the double bed, and my sister was on the pull-out couch.
Yeah.
And all the lights are off and they're watching TV. I'm kind of asleep. All of a sudden, everyone, no joke, you can verify this with my mom. I ripped the covers off me and I screamed bed bugs. And my whole body was covered in bed bugs.
Is so
and I
gross.
took them all off me. I started wiping them all off me, and my mom screamed. She jumped out of bed. My sister screamed. They threw me in the shower, and then we went back down to the front desk and we're oh my gosh, there's bed bugs.
Yeah.
Can you bring us to another room? They checked us into another room. They were super accommodating and great. They couldn't even believe that this happened. But then we couldn't stay and we drove home.
Oh, bed bugs.
We did not stay for one night. We couldn't put up with it for one night. I don't know. That was my worst hotel experience.
I hate that. I see that Charlotte was saying there was a baseball tournament in Southern Ontario and she thought the motel room had been part of a crime scene. Oh. Yeah, that's awful. Pastor Stevens in the chat saying, horrible hotel experience in Greensboro, literally multiple roaches and stains on the sheets. So I think it won't be my worst Airbnb story or worst hostel or hotel or motel story, but I did recently have an experience, and I won't name names, but we all traveled together as a staff, and one of the places we stayed at, it looked great on the outside and the pictures, but when we got in, it was not the best. So that was probably one of my more recent ones. Anthony, hey Anthony, in the chat, he's saying the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver, blood all over the bathroom.
Oh, that's awful,
That's
Anthony.
awful.
That's horrible.
That's
I don't know
so
what I would
bad.
do. I don't know what I would do.
Yes. Olivia's saying Boston. Actually, okay, I take it back. My worst experience was when Olivia and I and my mom, we were driving down to Boston, and halfway between here and Boston, we stayed at this, I think it was, I don't know if it was a motel or a hotel. I wasn't really sure. But we were just there for a couple hours, and it was awful. It smelled awful. It was like so small, and we were not expecting it to be that way, but we were like, we're only here for like 6 hours to sleep, and then we're leaving. But the whole time we were just like cringing.
Oh
so.
my goodness, it's so funny, it's so funny. All right, well, thanks for sharing all your stories, and we will just make sure we really read reviews before we book hotels, motels, Airbnbs, and old Victorian homes so they don't have bed bugs in them. Anyways, it was a great message by Pastor Robert Madu. Let's dive a little deeper. Put your sermon takeaway in the chat for me, and we're gonna check out this clip because it really spoke to both of us. So take a look.
I've learned sometimes that if my steps are gonna be ordered by God, then my stops must be ordered by Him too. Sometimes He'll hit you with a no. So they couldn't go to Bithynia. They couldn't go to the province of Asia. What do you do when you've gotten no and you don't know where to go? You pause and you wait to hear. See, God is not playing games with you. He wants you to know His will more than you want to know His will. But some of us have sensory overload. You got too many things going on. No wonder you can't hear God. You always scrolling. You always on Netflix. You always talking to other people about it. But if you could ever quiet your soul to hear, He will speak.
So good.
Wow.
I love that. Like the first time he said it, I was like, that is so, so true. Like I love this whole idea that like God is not like ever ignoring us or failing us when He gives us a no. Like even in scripture, it says like Jesus answered, my king is not of this world in John 18:36. And it's like, we have to understand that like His ways are better than ours. Like
absolutely.
God's kingdom is not of this world. It's not like my will. It's not me. So like whenever like there's a no, like you have to believe like there's a reason, there's a plan, like and the outcome is going to be good.
Yeah, even just when he was saying like sometimes God is speaking to us or trying to speak to us, but we have sensory overload. We're either scrolling on Instagram or on Netflix or whatever the case may be, or talking to other people about it, but not really just being still and waiting to hear from God. That clip was so good.
Yeah, it was so funny. I feel like I have a really hard time being still. So we were like laughing in the front because when they were saying like squirrely, your mind is all over the place. It's definitely been something that I've been working on, but it's so true. Like I definitely notice a difference on like when I can really focus on God and like what my whole like demeanor's like. And then like when I do get a no, because like we're all bound to get no's for different things. Like it really helps me handle it better when I'm like sitting in His presence rather than letting my mind completely scroll everywhere. But I really love some of the things you guys are saying in the chat. Vina, look at your circumstances through the lens of your purpose. Like, yes, I feel like if we can just shift our focus to like understand like we have a purpose and like all the things that we're going through like are for our good, even if they don't feel good, and like really understand like we are there for a purpose that makes things better.
Yeah, I love Pastor Stephen was saying, what if the man from Macedonia was the jailer at the end, which was so crazy. If you didn't get to check out the sermon yet, you need to watch it because Pastor Robert Madu brought us through this whole journey of like perseverance, and then at the end, like just hit it home with talking about how this vision that Paul was given was actually potentially the jailer was the vision that he had when he originally went to Macedonia.
Yeah, no, that was so cool. I had never even like heard that kind of like preached or like that idea like connect. So I love that too. I love that too, Stephen. Martin says, if your dream or vision only affect you, it is not from the kingdom of God.
Yes, that was my sermon takeaway. So one of my top points was when Pastor Robert Madu was talking about divine collaboration and just this idea of like sometimes God gives us a vision for something, but we can't do it on our own. We can't just watch it come to fruition. in our own strength. Obviously, we need Jesus, but we also need people, and God will provide those people to you. So I feel like Kristen has definitely been that person for me. I've had visions of things that God's like wanted to do through me, but it wasn't until Kristen came along, well, I kind of came along and then Kristen found me, that we were able to kind of start these like divine collaborations and see things in both of our lives come to pass.
It's so cool, like the way that our friendship even developed. Like, we really didn't know each other, and then one day we met and at church, and like we got along so well, and like I definitely feel like God has placed on my heart like so much vision and so much purpose for my life. But it definitely, Felicia brings so much to the table for all those things to come true. Like the visions that I have won't be able to be possible unless for your collaboration with me, and so much has already come to pass like by us working together as a team. And I think that like it's so important to have those people in your life, like if, whether it's a family member or like a coworker or a friend, but like really being able to share visions with people and like share purposes with people, like because you really can do so much more. Like two are better than one. It's what it says in the Bible. Like there is a difference. And even Pastor was saying, like, we are meant for community. Like if you have a dream that only involves you, it's probably not going to be from God, because there needs to be other people along for the ride. So I love that.
I love Fitzgerald has put in the chat, God reserves the right to use people I disagree with. That's real good. He was talking about, or Pastor Robert Madu was talking about Paul and Barney, called Barnabas. And just this idea that like God will still use them, and the gospel still was spread even though they parted ways and they weren't agreeing with each other. So,
I thought that was a really, really good point. This whole time though, like I was thinking about how like Paul, like Paul's whole story, right, and how he ended up in prison, really got me thinking about Joseph too, and like how Joseph had a dream for his life, right? And then when his brothers found out about his dream, like they wanted to kill him, but they sold him into slavery instead, and he had to like endure all these different hardships. And I just think it was such a like a cool example of like how he really talked about Paul, got me thinking about Joseph. And like Joseph again, like he held his faith, like he didn't waver, like he still believed that this dream was going to come to pass. So like, if anything, like I know it encouraged me, and I hope it encourages you, that like if you've had a dream and like it hasn't happened yet and you've been seeing no's to these different opportunities, like that doesn't mean like no indefinitely. Like Joseph's dream ultimately came true. Like his brothers did bow down to him in the end. It just took a little bit longer, but all those things had to happen like for a purpose and for God's reasons and for all these other things to happen along the way. So it's just so cool, like the encouragement we can get through these Bible stories.
Yeah, I actually have a question for all of you, so you can put your answers in the chat, and for you as well, Kristen.
Okay, let's go.
When you feel like a door has closed in your life, do you tend to wonder why, or do you see it as an opportunity?
I feel like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it depends. I feel like as I've gotten older, I've learned to see things more as an opportunity, because I feel like I've started to really train my mind to do that. Like, it isn't like the obvious thing to do. Like, when I hear a no, my like, right, like you get that like pain in your stomach, you get like all worked up. But like, as I've kind of gotten older and more mature in my faith, I can like really combat that with my mind and like really try to switch my focus. Again, it's doesn't work all the time, but I feel like that's changing in me.
Yeah, if you were on the bus tour, some of our volunteers are in the chat, Martin, Wonder, you'll know what I'm about to share, but it wasn't until this past year that I was able to really shift my perspective on seeing a no as an opportunity versus just a straight closed door or a disappointment. And so right before I came on staff and before I came into ministry, I felt like God was calling me into ministry, but I wasn't certain. And I had a friend of mine share this Instagram picture with me, and the picture was plain. It just had an email address on it. And in the comments, it was talking about like this church was looking for someone to oversee their children's ministry. And it was the same week that I had this vision from God that I was going to come into ministry. So I was like, this must be it. Like, this is perfect. And so I applied for it, and I went through the whole interview process, and I essentially had gotten the job, but they were like, there's going to be one issue, and it's going to be your visa. And so we were just about to start the visa process, and that same week, Kristen had actually come up to me in church, and like she was saying, we didn't really know each other, and she was like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And at the time, I was serving in our youth ministry, so I was like, oh no, I did something wrong in the youth ministry, like what happened? And she's like, I just want to get to know you better. And so she scheduled like a Zoom meeting one night, and we got on that call and we were talking, and then I realized it was an interview. And so I go through this interview and I get the job to come on staff here at Elevation. And I was like, well, this doesn't make sense. Like I personally wanted to go live in Texas, and there was an opportunity to be in ministry there, but I really felt like settled and at peace with being here and working in this ministry, and I felt called here. So I took the job and I started, and the church was Social Dallas, which is where
So
Pastor
crazy.
Robert Madu preaches, and that's his church. And so a couple
So
weeks
crazy.
I was on staff, and I got an email saying that they actually weren't ready to launch their children's ministry yet. And so they didn't
Wow.
have a job for me anymore. And I was like, that's God. Like, it was an opportunity. Of course, I would have seen it as a disappointment, but God really was just redirecting me and shifting me so that I could come and be in ministry
Yeah.
here, which is so, so cool. So, yeah.
It's so cool, that moment in your life. Like, you'll always kind of remember that, like
Yeah.
how God like really rearranged things for you.
Yes.
And I think like all of us have moments like that. Like, even if it's like, yes, it can be a job, but it could be like something else what like really stands out to you. And like, you can see God's faithfulness in this.
Yes.
So like every time like you get another no, you can kind of go back to this moment that you just shared and like use that to help you. I know for me, like when Stephen and I, we first got married, we were looking for a place to live, and it was really, really hard to find one. Eventually we found one, we fell in love with it. We thought everything was gonna go through. We were ready to sign the lease. And then the guy was like, no, sorry. Like, the landlord wants to not lease it to you. Like, he has somebody else he's gonna lease it to. And we were devastated because we were like, this is it, God. Like you cleared the path. Like, it has everything we're looking for. And we were so disappointed. And like, Stephen and I remember we both had to like talk each other down of like, you know what, no, God's got this. We're gonna figure it out. We're just gonna believe him. And then like, we did. We found a condo that honestly, like once we moved in there, we were like, yeah, I don't know what we were thinking, trying to live in that other one. This one's so much better. So I don't know. I always go back to that moment because I'm like, if anything like that ever happens again, like it just really builds my trust on God that he is going to come through for me. So
It's
yeah.
so crazy. I think Miriam even said in the chat, man's rejection is God's redirection.
Yeah.
So true.
It's so true. And it's like, I want God's direction, like more than anything. I don't want my own. I feel like Stephen and I always joke, like, I'm an unreliable source. Like, I just need God to help me. I need God to really direct my ways. So I thought that was good.
I love that. Well, this week, we have a big week coming up.
We have a big week coming up.
There's lots going on
Yes.
here at our campus in Mississauga. We will be having our worship night this
Yes.
Thursday night. So if you are in the area or if you're nearby, make sure you come and join us. But we just want to encourage you with some action steps.
Yeah, pretty much my biggest thing, and I hope you guys took this like from the clip that we showed, like your steps are ordered.
Yes.
Like God has a divine order for his whole plan, right?
Yeah.
Like this is something we talk about a lot. It's always like God first, then like yourself,
Yes.
then your family. And like if we can keep that in order and like follow that, we have to really believe that when these no's and these disappointments come, he is still in charge.
Yes.
He controls the outcome. So don't get lost in your frustration or your disappointment. So if anything comes up this week,
Yes.
go back to the message and remember that you are on assignment,
Yes.
that this is for a purpose, and God's gonna come through.
Yeah, and find stillness too in your
Yes.
days. Like really just sit in the presence. I know
Yeah.
a lot of times I can even get into my prayer closet or a space where I'm like, okay, God, now I need to like tell you everything that I'm feeling and thinking. But sometimes God's like, I just need you to be quiet and just
Yes.
sit and hear from me and wait on him, wait on his direction, wait on his timing. So yeah.
Yeah, great message. Watch it back, and we hope
Yes.
to see you here for worship night. Have a great week, everybody.